So I'd like to introduce our first panel, which is on the topic of customer delight, transforming the customer experience with generative AI. And as an interesting opener, I want to throw a quote: automation should not enhance, not replace. Sorry, automation should enhance, not replace. A smart person has already done this before. One of the challenges we have with artificial intelligence and a lot of other changes coming through is this presumption that we are dehumanising the process. And today we have three fantastic speakers that talks about the value of keeping the customer and the customer relationship in the mix. I'm going to throw first to Candice. Could you please briefly describe your organisation, AI Copilot, and that is so memorable, your role, and one thing that is most exciting about using generative AI to personalise customer experience?
As Cameron said, my name's Candice DeVille and I'm the CEO of AI Copilot, and we essentially help all of you navigate AI through consulting, education, and then nailing the implementation. So either building something, putting it in and figuring that out. In terms of what's most exciting about generative AI and the customer journey, that personalisation, is being able to speak to the things that matter to your customer, to the individual, rather than looking at them as an avatar group or a collective, that we can actually really filter down to the essence of what we need to know about those customers, including behaviour, personality, preferences, choices, and then make predictions based on that.
Fantastic. One of the things that I was introduced to a little while ago is that concept of mass customisation, and I think we're at the era of mass customisation, which is absolutely exciting. Alan, would you like to give us a quick introduction on Choice Energy and how you use systems and tech to improve your customer experience?
Thank you. My name is Alan. I'm a co-founder and executive director at Choice Energy, and we help Australian businesses to consume less energy and pay less for what they're using. I think in terms of AI, this year, in 2024, Australian businesses will pay $2 trillion more than they need to for energy. And why I really love what AI is doing is it's being a business owner myself, it's very tough to do business. And so if you've got costs that can be addressed and you can reduce that cost of doing business, you can get on with selling houses, printing magazines or whatever else it is that your business does. So AI is having a real effect. And the way that we use it at Choice Energy, probably most prominently, we use it all over the place, is on validating energy bills. So we all have mobile phone plans now, and typically it's $100 or something like that, and you get a certain amount of data, and you don't need to check your phone bill like you used to in the past. There's no way of validating your energy bill without using AI. So our customers have 55 data points on every single energy bill that they pay. And when they're paying too much, we get in touch with the retailer and get them a credit. So it's affecting the bottom line, which I think is pretty cool.
Considering the issues of the cost of living at the moment, that should be in hot demand, I would hope.
We are busy.
Oh, yeah. Vijay, if you would like to give us a quick introduction on Future Pulse and talk about how transformative AI-enhanced CRM is for enhancing your customer relationships.
Sure. Yeah. My name is Vijay Kumar. So I'm the founder of Future Pulse. Future Pulse is a consulting and implementation partner for Salesforce and Zoho. To answer that question, I think just before to this event, Tim presented a lot of things on AI. So in that, one of the thing was customer experience. In that, if you observe that, till now, if you call any of the companies for customer services and then look, they will give you a list of instructions. Okay, press 1 to reach this department, press 2 to reach this department and get what you want. So all that's go away going forward, and you're gonna have a conversation with the whenever you call with an AI agent to get what you want. So that's the change which is gonna happen with respect to the customer service.
So, Vijay, just talk us through the steps that you see are required for designing a generative AI.
All right. Yep. So what a CRM tools like Salesforce and Zoho does is like it works with your business data. Yeah, like unlike ChatGPT, it works in general manner where you ask question, it will give a certain answer. But these tools works with your business data. Yeah. So it's very important that you get your business data right and employ this tool to improve your customer services and also to improve the process. Yeah. So the first step which is involved in implementing AI in CRM tool is to go through your business data and make it right. So I think that should be the first journey.
Candice, how can companies ensure that AI-driven interactions continues to hold a human touch in the process?
That's a really key point, and it's something that happens at the very, very beginning in terms of not just the architecture of what you're putting in, but also the culture of the company and the education in understanding why this is so important. And it isn't just about the experience that the customer has that's more human, but it's also about mitigating risk and making sure that everything that we do when we put in those sorts of projects, that people understand where they sit in terms of how much human interaction is required to make this safe, because we never want to put things that are customer facing where they believe that they're talking to a human being and it's not. We don't want to misrepresent that. So it's really important that we have that, because without the human who has the subject matter expert knowledge, who's actually able to direct the AI, to create the architecture and the blueprint behind that information, then what comes out is not as good as we need it to be. So while it's there to augment what we do, that augmentation is absolutely key right now. The only things that we can look at completely replacing is really in the sort of basic machine learning and automation area right now, safely. So that human side is completely important, not just from an ethical standpoint, but from a risk standpoint, and even just for us as human beings wanting to connect with other human beings. We want our experiences with AI to make things smoother, faster, and better for us, but we don't want to dehumanize that process, and we don't want to disappear and not be seen. It's just as bad as being a number in a queue.
Conversation. So, Alan, from your experience, what are the challenges in AI implementation, considering you're dealing with customers, customer management, sales, which is by definition a very sensitive part of the business?
I think one of the biggest barriers is cost of AI. So I like tech naturally, but trying to get non-tech minded people in my organisation excited about that is very much a sort of hearts and minds campaign. And if I campaign too much, they'll switch off even more. There's also, so one of the barriers is the cost, because so many software vendors. Vijay, you mentioned Salesforce.com. It's an area I know very well. It's very, very expensive to implement a lot of AI. And a lot of the vendors, I think, are looking for the dollar today. So you see those kind of 40% off if you buy annually, because in my opinion, probably their product will be overtaken or redundant, or at least very commoditized in a year's time. And so to fully go AI, it can cost quite a lot. It can also cost very little if you know what you're doing. And so that would be very sort of prohibitive. From a customer's experience point of view, I bank with the First Direct, if anyone knows that in the UK. It's a Yorkshire bank. And I love the fact when I phone them, I either get a Scottish or a Yorkshire person, because that's where their call centres are. And they're nice people, and I feel like they care about me. And I think it would be hard for AI to replace that customer experience. They're probably not even the best rates that I get with them, but I'm very loyal to them. And I think AI will find it hard to engender loyalty that we have with humans.
Continuing, Alan, as a user of AI in customer management yourself, but putting yourself now in the shoes of the customer, what experiences have you had as a customer of others using AI that you would actually showcase?
So my customers, Choice Energy's customers, if I can talk to them.
So your experience of other businesses treating you as a customer and seeing them adopting AI.
I'm not really a consumer myself of other people's products. I do enjoy using third parties, but the technologies that we use would be sort of the standard sort of ChatGPT. We've built actually our own sort of proprietary software that does bill checks, network tariff analysis and that kind of stuff. But from the customer's point of view, when we find something that's wrong, they get the information that's automated, but they get a phone call from us to say, what do you want to do about it? And that's quite surprising, Brendan, because some people will go, you've been undercharged, for example, $10,000. Some people will go, well, notify my retailer, I want to pay that because I don't want that hanging over my head. Others will go, sweet, don't tell anybody. So, and that's based on human perception, isn't it? So AI wouldn't know what the customer wants without speaking with them.
A question for all of you, and I'll just cycle through. If there was one piece of wisdom you would impart, whether it's a word, a phrase, an experience you've had around AI implementation with customer management, what would it be?
The first thing that you need to think about is how you would like to implement AI specifically for tasks. And if we can just talk about that example of the call centre, for instance. One of the first things that a lot of businesses' minds go to is how do we replace a human being that does this on the other end of the phone? Alternatively, we can look at things like have AI sit in on the conversation and be able to not only analyse the sentiment, it knows more about that customer and be able to bring that to the forefront to then help the customer service person that's working through that. So it's not always the very first thing that you think of when you think that AI is the solution for that. It's not replacing the human, it's sitting alongside them to make that experience better, deeper, more meaningful, more helpful and faster.
Vijay?
Yep, just to extend what Candice said, with the implementation of AI, what you are trying to do is you're just pushing the boundary a little bit for that particular customer service agent, yeah? So today they might be doing certain kind of things, but the thing is, that might be taking 4 hours of time, and then in remaining 4 hours of time, they might be doing some other things, yeah? So, but what you are trying to do by implementing AI, with the customer service, you might be pushing that agent to straight away start with the second part of the day what you are doing. So it is just about pushing the boundaries, not about replacing. It is enhancing the working experience as well.
I agree with that. I think it's about augmenting. So anytime, I'm an absolute fiend when it comes to ChatGPT. Someone sends me an email, I'll put it into ChatGPT and say, can you passively aggressively tell them to sod off, or be very thankful and mention the fact that they're a Kiwi. So I use it a lot, and it's about looking at anytime you're doing something that's repetitive, menial. It's about giving you that time back so that you can do what you do better. It's not to replace you.
Last question for me, and then I'm going to throw to the audience and see what questions we have from the people, our participants today. And I'm open to who wants to answer this question, or all of you. What ethical considerations do you think we have in the process of using AI with customers and customer interaction?
I think the first one, if I can jump in there, would be transparency. The naysayers around AI all picture Skynet and Terminator. And I was going to hum the tune, but I'm not very good at humming. But the nuts of it is we've been using AI in various formats for such a long time, and so I wouldn't say to them that it's wrong to fear it. But it's understandable because it's the unknown, and we're scared of what we don't know. So I would say try to educate yourself. But in terms of the ethical nature, it's the transparency. You just have to tell them, I'm using AI to record this meeting and transcribe it. Is that okay with you? And if it's not, switch it off. And I think most people, as long as you're transparent, are open-minded.
Any other answers, or you have?
I think also when it comes to ethics in customer service, it's kind of a mix between ethics and risk. Is we also have to think about the type of AI that we're using and what that model is and what biases might be in that aren't going to work with our customer base. So if we have a customer base that comes from a specific cultural background or a certain segment of society that isn't really catered to in some of those models at the moment, what do we need to then look at ethically to improve that model for our use case to make it better, more ethical, less biased for who our customers are, rather than just slapping on a version of GPT and hoping for the best, because we know where all that information comes from and that there are really key biases in that. So it's super important to look at that when you're implementing.
Yeah, my answer is straightforward. I think whenever you want to implement AI, just implement it to improve your business process and your customer experience. So don't think that by implementing AI, I'm going to save this much of cost, I'm going to replace this much of workforce or something like that. It is not that. You just think that, by implementing these things, how I can improve my customer experience, how I can improve my business efficiency.
Fantastic. Over to you. What questions do you have around AI or other transformation and innovations happening within customer experience and customer management? Go for it.
Just interested from Yeah, just interested on your take when it comes to customer experience about the minutiae that the average marketer misses in a customer experience and AI's role in picking up the rather obvious things. I can give you an example if you need it, but I don't think you do, Candice.
That's a really good question. So it was about the minutiae, the nuances of our experiences when we're working with customers and how the average person can miss so much. So one of the great things that we can do with AI, and we're actually building a project on this at the moment for a client, is being able to implement AI at all sorts of different pieces of the customer journey, so that from the very first interaction, it's able to essentially watch, listen to, and get more information than the average human could about that person. And that may be behavioural, it may be product, style, but it's also to do with what their preferences are, how they might like to be spoken to, for example, what their key pain points are that aren't necessarily very obvious. And doing that in real time so that it's then able to inform what we present to the customer, how we make that better. Great example is once you see that, we have an automation system that can, using the HeyGen that you saw before and the AI avatars, actually create videos that look as though they've come from you, but they're speaking in a tone and addressing the issues that customer has personally. So when they watch that video essentially looks like it was made personally for them to deal with what their questions were about the product or about their fears or their worries or concerns or what they actually want to achieve. So there's many, many different ways that can be implemented and then stacked one on top of the other to create an entirely more satisfactory customer journey, but also for businesses to become not just more profitable, but much more trustworthy with their customers.
I would add to that, one of the technologies that was mentioned earlier this morning was Fireflies. My trade or profession is in sales, and I use Fireflies when I can in a meeting, and often at the end of it, I think I've understood the customer, I've tried to empathise, really tried to get a grasp of what their problem is to see if I can help them. And Fireflies will often spit out actions and commitments, and they're micro commitments, some of them. Like for example, if a customer says, have you got any other, I don't know, healthcare customers? Yeah, I can share lots of those with you. And the conversation moves on. And at the end of the transcript, it emails me to say, you promised to share some healthcare customers with them. And I'll go, really? Where was that? And it will show me in the transcript, and I can listen to my own voice saying that. And so whilst it's my job and I've got every intention and every want to fully understand them, I just can't do that as well as an AI, so that definitely picks up there.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'd look at a question in regards to the trust of AI as well. I think, I use AI on a daily basis, but I don't trust it yet. I think that's a time thing in humans, maybe. And as time goes past, we'll have a lot more trust. One thing I could think of, a really good example would be like, for example, AI working in a 000, emergency call centre, where it can actually probably be better than a human because it doesn't have the emotions attached to the crisis either, and it can be really analytical in the response of what it can actually make. How far away, obviously you guys study this more than I do, how far away is that in time?
It's possible right now, but the big question on that is risk, and that is a really high risk implementation of AI and not something that we would recommend right now. It's funny that you mentioned the 000 call, because I had to make one of those last night. And sitting there with my daughter when she stopped breathing and being able to talk to the human operator on the other end of the phone, who was able to listen to what was going on in the background, ask questions, tell me what to do. Even working in AI, I think I would not want to have AI in that position. Conversely, I was sat in the emergency room working with one of my GPTs to get a second opinion and try and figure out what had gone wrong for this child last night, because the doctors were stumped. And so we worked through that. And to your point about trust, I often look at AI just as you would with a doctor or a lawyer or some other professional, where you think, I want to get a second opinion. You should always do your own research, always get a second opinion. It's really good to help you out, but as far as putting 100% of our trust in that, I don't think we should ever get to that point.
Probably a question for Candice again, but this morning Tim spoke about AI agents and that it's moving fast and it might be that tool. Can you add a little bit more colour around that from a customer experience perspective? Is it something that could be, because I've got a platform I've been trying to consider for the last year or two around, do we rebuild with Gen AI at the core and then change our whole CX and interface? Do we plug it in to be feature rich? And is that kind of what an AI agent may be? Because we're talking about customer experience, not just sales and marketing. The customer experience would be the user journey of our platform or any platform. Can you speak to a little bit more around what the AI agent potential will be and what problem it might solve, more than just a chatbot, I assume?
Yes. So the example that Tim was giving this morning is a little bit more sort of chatbot related with some agentic capabilities. Agentic being that it can actually go off and do actions for you. But if we think of AI agents like little worker ants, and each one of them does a micro task that it specialises in, and that could even be going behind a paywall, putting in your login credentials, these sorts of things. And they work like a workforce. So you can create an AI agent CEO who then has all the managing directors and then the team leaders and so on and so forth, all the way down to individual tasks. And each one of those can be replaced at any time or upgraded at any time without having to affect the whole group. So you can build agents, and we're building these at the moment for all sorts of different tasks, that essentially chain together anything you want to do. So if it can go out and research something, it can create a video, it can research a book for you and put all of that together. But if you think of the task itself, so for instance, let's say writing a book, that's nice and easy, each agent would do one piece of that. Not just one that does research, but you'd have specialised agents that research each particular part. And those agents all collaborate together so that they can then inform each other what the information was that they got back, what the action was, whether it was successful or not successful, and then build on that. So anything that you can think of in your customer journey, we can sit there and map out, all right, how do we build the right agents for this? And it could be a small little group of agents, or it could be an entire team of people who do things, or machines replacing the tasks that people do, so that the people on your team are then able to use their subject matter expertise to help inform how the agents do what they do, to validate any information that comes out, but most importantly, to be a lot more creative, that we are the thinkers behind what we get the agents to do, and they're doing the grunt work for us. Does that help answer the question?
It does.
Yeah.
A lot more colour. But just, is there a point when agents become irrelevant, or you're better off to go with actually just getting the private GPT, LLM, and plugging that in and then building around it? Like at some point, because I'm thinking workflow, not just tasks, right? So my workflow will have potentially 200 tasks. Do I then have to build 200 AI agents, or am I better going to the LLM and actually building them either at the core or at the sides?
Yeah, I understand the question there. So the question is, are you better to work with the LLM, like your ChatGPT, and then build around that, or build, say, 200 agents? The simple answer is 200 agents. And the reason for that is that your GPT or your ChatGPT is one specialty. Your agent does multiple different things. And you could have different models for every single agent depending on what it needs to do. So if, for example, we're doing research, then we might want to be pulling on Perplexity as the LLM behind that. So each of them can have access to all kinds of things. They could have access to multiple different LLMs at the same time, depending on the task and then what that output is, if they have to visualize something and do that. The effort to actually build these massive teams of agents is becoming less and less, but even more exciting is that they are teaching each other, they're repairing each other, and improving the processes as they go along.
Yeah, I apologise. I feel like I'm a dinosaur by comparison to everybody in the room. I have a genuine interest in technology, and because I'm old, I've seen changes in technology over time where, people used to code in BASIC, for example, and things were quite linear, and then people started building their own proprietary software. And in my world, I work in the insurance industry. There are a lot of legacy systems, and I'm just wanting to ask a question about current AI tech. And I know with APIs, things, click into things, but I'm interested to understand if it will, if you build something this year in what you're talking about and what you've all done, is that going to limit us to what we can do in 2 to 5 years? I don't know what the outlook looks like. Because as a business owner, you want to invest something that you've got more than a 3-year horizon on that, things will change and you'll need to plug in and upgrade and update and maybe change things. But if it becomes a legacy system that isn't active, then that's a bad investment.
Yeah. One of the first things that we often tell our clients is working with AI and implementing AI is not like buying software at all. It is completely different, and it will change constantly, and it should change constantly. So being able to build that from the very beginning, that pieces can be swapped in and out and updated, so whether that's the model, the training, the data, whatnot, think of it like those Lego blocks, okay? If we've built a whole Lego pirate ship and we just want to replace like a wheel on a cannon, if we know how all of that is built, then we can consistently upgrade and change and improve these things. But the speed of implementation for this is so much faster than trying to deal with legacy systems in software. And one of the big questions for many organisations becomes, should we custom build this for ourselves or should we get something off the shelf? And I would say at the moment, probably 85% of our clients are way, way better to get advice and get things off the shelf that are going to hook together because they have much better tech support and being able to develop that they don't have to worry about. It's not their problem. What they do need to do is understand how those things are implemented and how they work together. So yes, structure, documentation, all of that should come with it. But the one thing I would advise is that all businesses should be looking for the person in the organisation to become their AI champion. And that AI champion is the person who's into it. It doesn't have to be an IT person. It could be your receptionist. You don't know. But it's someone who loves problem solving and someone who's really good at communication, and start working with them to build your own internal AI champion.
Just to extend that, if you choose the right tool and the right technology or the platform, So they will they will do all the future innovation for you. So you just need to think about, okay, so the next thing is coming up, like now ChatGPT 4 is there. So they were started with 1, 2, 3. So they are constantly innovating. So you need to choose those kind of tools which they invest and innovate so that you can take advantage of all those things here.
But how do you know who those companies are? How would I know that?
Talk to us.
Where do I go to find that?
Consultants, yeah.
I'd also add to that. So, Paul, in the world of energy, poles and wires, it's pretty geeky. There's new network tariffs, and retailers change their price very often. They put on specials. You get solar feed-ins, you get time of use, there's all kinds of things, and it's constantly changing every single day. And so our platform is learning as it goes. And so we do have that AI champion. His name's Patrick, and he's bit of a legend. He's not a technical person, but he has very operationally sound mind. He can actually speak to salespeople and do clever things, which is rare. But it changes every day, pretty much. And so we feel like it's future-proofed for sure.
Organisations that are customer-centric are needed to survive. And organisations that can adopt technology, if they don't adopt the technology, are not going to survive. If you put those two together, customer centricity and adoption of innovation and technology, you are the future of the organisation, and there's no ifs and buts about it. Thank you very much, Candice, Vijay and Alan. Please, a round of applause for their contribution.